to do an event. So it's like,
God.
uh, so it was a slow burn to try to get that book moving. Um, and it wasn't really until I started doing Amazon advertising that it really picked up. So it's been good since then.
That's awesome. That's really
Yeah,
great to hear.
yeah.
We got some people joining us. We got Steve here. Oh, I'm so glad Steve is part of this. Steve was actually he's been a long time Patreon member who actually came up with this idea for Whiskey Wednesday, where
Huh?
we would have these cocktail classes every month, and he goes, they're great and everything, but I just want to like go on and drink whatever I'm drinking from my cabinet and just talk about whiskey or talk about whatever I'm drinking. So it's called Whiskey Wednesday, but if people are drinking beer or vodka or whatever they're drinking, we'll talk about it. But it's been I'm so glad Steve's joining because he hasn't joined yet. So um,
Equal opportunity drinker. I like your
yes,
I like your neon whiskey glass.
yeah, yeah. We
I was gonna
had
say
it.
that's awesome.
Yeah, we thought of at first because city code has to get in to our place and kind of look at everything. We know our bathroom's kind of a mess, so we have to like like redo all that. A lot of construction going on. So we have been
As a
thinking of.
plumber, I've been in significantly worse bathrooms. I
Okay.
mean, I would, that's a 10 out of 10 dump every day compared
Yeah.
to a lot.
That's good to hear. But yeah, so we just know there's some work that needs to be done. So we're getting everything ready right now, and we thought for like the first couple weeks, just so things aren't overwhelming, because Auburn's a small town, and there's a little bit of a buzz going on about us, because we're in the city of Auburn, New York. We're the first distillery since Prohibition. So it's like people have been waiting for this. There is a brewery on every corner, but for a distillery, there's not much. So, and there's only
They've
one.
got an electric chair.
They
They
do
don't
have an
have a
electric chair.
distillery.
Yeah. um, but so for things to not be so overwhelming the first couple weeks, we're talking about like doing like a soft launch and not only telling us certain people, and in our window not having the open sign on, but just having the neon whiskey sign open, just so if
Nice.
people are driving by, they go, there is a light on and it is a whiskey light. I'm gonna go check that place out. So uh,
Nice.
yeah.
So describe the place. So what is it when we walk in? What's our experience going to be?
So right now it's a very small space. It's very thin and it goes back pretty far. So right now we're cutting it in half, not like bonded area wise. We are just kind of putting up a curtain around the entire part where just the tasting room is. I know a lot of you have been there. Richard, I think you've been there before. I know Steve obviously has been there, but we
We have
kind of
band
cut.
practice there.
Yeah, we've had band practice there before. That is true. We cut it in half and just put like a curtain around the whole place, so it's really dimly lit. We are in New York State. It's kind of cool how they're doing things right now because we have things aging right now. We're expected. We're very close. I don't know if any if you've listened to the last podcast, but we just taste tested our product for the first time, and we're
Mm.
like, it's almost there. It's almost there. So we're thinking like January it should be ready. Um, but
Is that just is that just an aging thing or is that
yeah,
for like okay.
yeah, no, everything's ready to go. Our labels are approved. Or we have the bottles in. We have our labels in. We have the we have everything ready to go. We're just waiting for. We just need the like. I know we've been saying like, oh, we just need one more month. We just need one more month. But that's the whiskey business right there. If it's not ready, it's not ready. You know.
I wish my one of my favorite memories, which probably reflects terribly on me, is being in your basement and you're like, oh yeah, these are all the reject barrels. You can just do whatever you want. And I'm just down there like emptying like barrels of chai whiskey into my
Yeah.
mouth. And you're like, that was that those are all terrible. We rejected those. They're fine. It's
Yeah.
great.
Those were the experimental days of
they
Stallman's
were
Folly. Yeah.
they were strong. Yeah, that was very it's definitely been like it's been cool to be there from the beginning to be like, wow, you guys
Yeah.
are you guys are insane to oh my god, you're actually going to launch a product.
Yeah. Right.
So,
I know. So with New York State, it's kind of cool that Well, it's cool and not cool. Like we would love a tasting room, like a full operation, where you can get other products besides ours. Pretty much like we don't want a bar. We don't want people going in there and doing shots and getting crazy. But we want to offer also local things. In New York State, the way our permit lays out, anyone with a manufacturing permit is allowed to have a tasting room. And that's the only permit you need. You don't need a full liquor license
Hmm.
to be able to sell your products for cocktails and that sort of thing. So as long as all the liquor that you're using is New York State liquor.
Okay.
So if we wanted to use, if we wanted to make like a
Pennsylvania rye something or other.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we wanted to make a cocktail that had like a whiskey sidecar or something that has like triple sec or something in it, then we would have to that triple sec has to be New York made, which is
Mm.
kind of cool that we're finding other liquor, from other places. So when we first do, we for the people that are in New York, all sales have to be done at the location. Um, Unless we have a marketing permit, which allows us to be in events and like farmers markets and that sort of thing. We are allowed to.
You go to we show up at the flea market on Sunday morning, like,
Hey,
ah, we got donuts and a shot of maple whiskey.
yes, I mean, have you been to the Syracuse Farmers Market on a Saturday or Sunday? There is like several distilleries and breweries there.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't been in a long time. It
That's
was
a hard
always,
drinking area.
I
I
was just there looking for
Mhm.
I mean, they're not giving out cocktails. They're just
mopeds
they're
and
selling
stuff.
retail bottles. They're just trying to get their product out there. So it is definitely possible for us to be doing that. And I appreciate the hustle for those guys that are out there slinging their whiskey or vodka. But um, yeah, so all the sales have to be done, obviously, unless we are in liquor stores and bars, have to be done at our premise. So December 16th, we open. We are doing pre sales until it's ready. Pre orders are going to be, we're expecting it to be like mid January because it's very close. It's just not there. I mean, we're very particular. We want you guys to have the best product available. Um, so yeah, December 16th. And while you're there, you have to pre-order at our place. So while you're there, we are offering cocktails from New York State distilleries, whether it be a
Can't
whiskey
do it.
cocktail or a vodka or gin cocktail, maybe some Tom Collins or something fun. Um, and you can come check out the new spot. And we're very excited. So December 16th, every Friday from 5 to 9 for right now until we can figure out, the process. Starting small. So that's that. We got
Can't pre-order online. Can only
no, all
pre-order
sale.
in store.
No, because we tried going that route, and they're like, "Oh, takeout is available, and all these other things are available." And then we contacted. We're like, "Oh, we could be the first distillery on DoorDash. Let's check that out." And they said, "No, we can't do that. In New York State, a manufacturing permit, all sales have to be done on the premise." So we could set up a pre-order thing, but you can't pay for it until you get there, and it'd be hard to do because people were going to sign up for for the whiskey, and then they may not show up. So we're having bottles set aside for people who may not show up. So we're just gonna do pre-orders at the spot. Um, but yeah, that's the quick thing. Um, Steve, I want to say thank you so much for joining Whiskey Wednesday. This is your idea, Steve's idea to do Whiskey Wednesday. Steve was the person who was like, I love the cocktail classes; they're really fun, but I want to just talk about whiskey and what I'm drinking in my cabinet and go through, And you're like, I just want to like talk. I would talk shop. Um, so thanks to you. This is our fourth one, and I'm so
Yeah,
happy
I
you're.
finally made it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it was always scheduled on days that there was some sort of like kid thing to do, like
yeah.
open houses or something. So, tonight I made it a point to, yeah. And I
Nice.
also didn't respond to your text specifically to surprise you.
Yeah, I was so happy. As soon as you logged on, I was talking to Richard and Drew. I was like, "Steve's here." um, but my mother's joining. Mom, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm having Chardonnay.
Nice. Of course you're having Chardonnay.
Yeah, I wanted to see what you guys talk about on Whiskey Wednesdays.
Yeah, we talk about usually whiskey. Last
What is Drew and whiskey lore? Can I
what about
hear?
wine? I have Wine Wednesday.
Yes, Wine Wednesday. It still works. Still works. Yeah, we have Drew here. Drew, we've had a relationship with Drew now for a little over a year. We interviewed him because he has a very one of my favorite podcasts called Whiskey Lore, and you can find it streaming everywhere. I use it on Spotify, and it's these awesome stories about usually whiskey related and or at least distillery related, and just all the. I mean, Drew. I mean, you're the expert. Why don't you promote your podcast?
I have a
What's that now, Steve?
I have a question for Drew. I was
Sure,
thinking
sure.
about this.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot about prohibition and the beer side of it. How
Okay.
did people get whiskey during prohibition?
They got whiskey a lot of different ways. Actually, I'm doing research for a brand that you'll laugh at the name, but it's Chicken Cock. Okay. And Chicken Cock was actually one of the most popular whiskeys pre-prohibition, but a lot of people don't know that. And so I've been researching for the company. This is a name that I was in a museum, in a whiskey museum in Bardstown, Kentucky, and I saw the bottle and I was like, what a peculiar name. And I was looking at it, questioning. Well, apparently somebody else was doing the same thing, a guy who decided, hey, I think I will start a whiskey brand. And that one looks really interesting. So let me see if I can get that name re-trademarked. And so he did, but he didn't know the history. So the company hired me because they'd heard the podcast, and they said, we'd like for you to go in and do some research on our history. Well, I'm not like your typical historian, as I'm starting to learn historians are a little lax in terms of their research. One of my favorite historians is David McCullough, because if you look in the back of one of his books, it's like this much of the end of the book is all of his notation of all of his sources that he dug through to get all the facts, which I just absolutely love that. So, but he's a storyteller as well. So as I started going through and I was researching for these guys, I was going through newspapers.com, and I'm just like scouring every single thing I can find all the way back. They said their history went back to 1856. I found out this guy was all the way back to 1836, which would put him at the very beginning of bourbon. And in fact, his distillery was called the Bourbon Distillery because it was in Bourbon, Kentucky.
Oh my God.
And it was the biggest. And so, but no historians really know about this guy. So anyway, I've been following this story all the way through, and I get up to Prohibition, and most historians go, well, then, everything shut down and you had all this illicit whiskey coming in. And where was that illicit whiskey coming from? Well, come to find out, the man who bought Seagram's in 1927, a man named Sam Brofman, decided that he was going to start shipping whiskey into the United States because it was illegal. It was legal to distill in Canada, but it was illegal to sell whiskey in Canada. So they could make it for export, but they could not consume it or sell it within Canada. So basically what the Canadians were doing was they were shipping all their whiskey down, and people like Al Capone and all the rest were all going to the border and bringing all this Canadian whiskey down. And there's a guy named Daniel Okrent who wrote a book called Last Call, and it's a whole book about Prohibition history. And there's a story, I love this story because I'm from Detroit originally. And the story is that in Windsor, Canada, right across the border, they would have a customs agent. And as the boats were loading up all of this whiskey, he would say, where are you taking this whiskey? And they would say, and they're on a little boat. I mean, like a canoe almost. And where are you taking this whiskey? We're going to Cuba. and he would say, and the customs agent would say, bon voyage. And that was it. So they were in on this whole thing. And so what is interesting is that because of Sam Brofman and Seagram's and his wicked ways, Canada was finally, the US government lobbied Canada to change their law. So in 1930, they changed the law to say, no, you cannot export to any country that has prohibition. So Mr. Sam says, okay, I think what I will do is there's this little French island off of the coast of Newfoundland. We'll just ship all of our whiskey to Newfoundland. And then wherever happens with it after that is not our problem. So basically, they were shipping it to St. Pierre, this little French island south of Newfoundland, and then they would just ship it into New York City. And that's where the term rum runners comes from, because there were people sitting off the coast,
Right.
waited for these shipments to come to them, a lot from the Caribbean, but you also had St. Pierre was bringing all this Canadian whiskey in. And when it came into New York City, the places it would go, one of the famous places, and the reason I started researching this was Chicken Cock was actually the most, Duke Ellington writes about it in his memoirs and says, when I was at the Cotton Club, they used to have this whiskey in a tin can called Chicken Cock, and that this was just like the best whiskey around. And because it was pure, it was actually coming from Canada, whereas what most people were drinking was what they call rot gut. So somebody had a still set up in their basement. I don't know if you know this or not. I learned this actually from talking to Colin Spoolman from Kings County Distillery, but Manhattan used to be a moonshine capital. They used to Brooklyn actually had a moonshine war at one point, and it was right in the neighborhood where the Naval Yard is and where that distillery is at. So, but this was all.
I was just in Brooklyn recently, and it's mostly trash.
Well, at one time, I guess it was a pretty violent place over liquor. So yeah, but that's why they would say people would go blind from drinking whiskey, because they would, a distiller wouldn't necessarily know what the heck he was doing, and he might leave the heads.
He's making the wrong cuts. Yeah.
Or he's not making cuts at all.
Yeah, you're not making cuts at all.
Because he wants to make money off this stuff. So he's just basically selling whatever he's making and not realizing that he's. But I actually just read something today about how they used to sell this chicken cock product back in 1850. There was an article or a ad, and it said, does not use strychnine or medicines or I mean, it's like that's what they used to do with whiskey. And actually 1897, the Bottled in Bond Act, the reason that came about was because Kentucky distillers got sick of adulterated whiskey and people faking bourbon and putting there was an outfit in Cincinnati that they made flavors to put into neutral spirits. So basically distill vodka and then throw a barrel of bourbon flavor in it and then sell it as bourbon. So that was, yeah.
I think I listened to that episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. You could also get a prescription for alcohol back then.
You could get a prescription for chicken cock if you wanted.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yes, you could.
I should look. There is a prescription notes at our shop hanging on the wall. Like I got it for a birthday present years and years ago, and I should look to see if there's a brand name on it.
Well, this isn't medicinal, but they would put the tax stamp on it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's the Bottled in Bond. This was distilled in 1917. Whoa. Or actually 1914 and then bottled in 1917. But it was a Bottled in Bond. E.H. Taylor.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, Drew is our whiskey historian and part of our Patreon. So it's
good to have a historian on staff, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But let's. Who's drinking something today? Let's go around the room. Speaking of Brooklyn, Richard comes from Brooklyn. Um,
I mean, I live here currently.
yes.
If you
Oh,
ask
no,
me where I'm
you're-
from, I say Arizona,
Oh, that's
Ah.
right.
but
You're not
I
from.
live in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you agree with Steve that it's mostly trash, or?
Some parts. Where I used to live, it was a little. I
We
don't know. I live
were-
in South Slope now, and that's
We-
mostly families and little kids. So
Gotcha.
kids are
Where
trash.
we were
So
was literally like where Mark and I went to this guitar and synth expo was literally like next to Waste Management, right on the coast, and all like
Oh, wow.
in like recycling districts. It smelled terrible. It was great. It was like the full New York
It
City.
was great.
oh yeah, there are
Yeah.
definitely some parts. I know there's like a couple years back they're doing the Gowanus Canal cleanup, where they're trying to, what they said, drudge out all the black mayonnaise from the bottom of the canal.
What? Black? That sounds so gross.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty awful. But no, where I'm at in Brooklyn is really nice. Marie and I we moved here earlier in the year, and yeah, we're liking it a lot by Prospect Park. But yeah, I'm drinking some Suntory Toki, just their regular whiskey. It's pretty good. It's like an easy to drink whiskey. The last time I had it was actually in Arizona, where it's a lot cheaper. I'm noticing prices for bottled liquor here in Brooklyn are a lot more expensive, but because I usually don't buy, I mean, honestly, I usually buy beer. I'm
Yeah.
not a huge liquor buyer, but if I go out and I want like a cocktail or a liquor, I'll go with whiskey. So usually a rye whiskey. I like High West a lot, but I decided to get the Suntory, which is just easy to drink, kind of light color,
Yeah,
strawy kind of whiskey. So
that's awesome. Have you had their? They did the collaboration with Jim Beam, right? Was that the Legion there? Did they do that? Yeah. Have you had that? That was pretty good. It's kind of like Japanese versus bourbon, I guess.
oh, interesting. I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Did anybody just watch Becky and whoever that is chug that? Like, was that whiskey?
Yeah, let's go.
Did
I
you just
saw
chug
that.
all that whiskey?
Yeah, let's go to Becky and Holly, where last Whiskey Wednesday, we went on for like 2.5 hours or something like that, just hanging out
Yeah,
and doing
That wasn't whiskey. We actually just did a bomb.
a bomb.
Yeah.
Nice.
You
Well,
think
a
that
bomb
we
of
just
what?
took shots this deep of whiskey?
Red, white, and blue. We did a red, white, and blue bomb.
Oh, okay. What are you guys sipping on anything tonight?
Becky, okay, I told you earlier, I'm a crap bartender. I couldn't come up with anything. I bought some things. Becky whipped it up and it tastes so good. So take it away, Becky.
Yeah, take it away, Becky.
Bartender Becky.
So we got some peach whiskey.
Peach.
Yeah, peach whiskey, and then something like triple sec, so it's an orange liqueur.
Cointreau.
Don't
Oh,
I
yeah,
wouldn't even.
Contra, yeah.
Cointreau.
Oh, okay. And when we mixed in some apple cider, sweet tango apple cider,
Sweet Tango apple cider. If you haven't tried it from Wegmans, you have to.
of
It's
Vietnamese cinnamon stick, and some zest of orange.
and orange.
This is like hitting my sweet tooth like.
And
palate
then
now,
she
like-
warmed it up.
And then I put it in the microwave,
Whoa.
It's warm.
and it tastes great.
It's so good.
I'm drinking it out of my Harry Potter butterbeer cup.
Oh,
And
nice,
if you've
nice.
never tried Vietnamese cinnamon sticks,
That's where it's
there's
at with
something
cinnamon.
special about it.
Really is.
Is it more
they're
spice? Like what makes it Vietnamese?
They smell.
They smell a little sweeter, but they don't taste sweeter. I don't know. It's like a pungent
Okay.
odor.
It looks
That makes
good
sense.
in a good way.
Yeah.
Put one of those on a wreath in the fall time.
Now, is the what was the peach whiskey? I'm interested in that. What is that the
Jim Beam.
the one? Which one is it?
Jim Beam.
Oh, Jim Beam. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Nice.
Only because that's all that was available at our local liquor store.
I see. Nice.
Because if they had the good stuff,
Revel.
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 There is another one called Revel Stroke. Yeah.
Yes, Revel Stroke, which we can't find at this local.
I have
Like
seen their
Actually,
pecan.
the one
pie
down the
one.
street. The one
A
down the
pecan
street
what?
here. Wait, what?
Pecan what?
They have a pecan pie one too.
Ah,
That is very rich and very sugar. Like it doesn't taste like whiskey to me, but like it's yeah, they do have a pecan pie flavored
I
whiskey.
love that.
That
But I
sounds
think
good.
they just make like a pecan pie liqueur and kind of blend it with whatever whiskey they have.
Right.
I have a good subject for after we have a few drinks in us.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Regionalisms and how people say particular words like I'm used to
Pecan.
pecan rather
Oh,
than pecan.
yes.
But I'm from Michigan, but I lived in South Carolina and North Carolina for most of my life. So I've been fighting the word caramel versus caramel.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to fight. You know what? I really got to think when I go through the Wendy's drive-through because they have the pecan or pecan salad, right?
Salad,
So
yeah.
you know, I definitely am, being from a news and like reporter background. For me, it's caramel and pecan, but I
Okay.
definitely feel like a douchebag saying. I don't know what to say.
Wait, you feel say caramel or
Caramel
you don't?
caramel
I
sounds
do.
elitist to me for some
No.
reason.
Yeah, but okay.
Oh,
So I have
no.
okay.
So
No.
pecan, I will go with pecan, but honestly, caramel, I'll say caramel.
Right.
I'm
Okay,
from
okay,
Syracuse.
alright.
I say
Pecan.
caramel.
We're in New York. We
Right.
say
I was
pecan.
gonna say.
I like pecan. I like
If
pecan.
you're in a drive-through and you're saying caramel and pecan,
Yeah.
you're a snob.
Snob.
And-
Okay.
In New York, but if you're down
Pecan
south,
and caramel.
you're just
Caramel.
right.
I think it
Yeah.
depends on how, like, what you're using, especially caramel. Like, if you are baking and you're using caramel, you can say caramel, but like, you don't call it caramel corn.
If you're an
You make caramel
influencer.
corn,
That's
right?
true. Or
Caramelized.
exactly. Or,
I'm
exactly.
gonna start calling it that though. I like
Wait.
that.
What county are you
Caramel
from?
corn.
That's true. I will say, okay, there's
Okay.
another one too, and this is like local to New York too, and I think maybe Michigan, maybe it's like the far north you get, but like Drew, did you grow up in Michigan? Is that what you said?
I did, yeah.
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 Did you say pop instead of soda?
Yeah.
You
Well,
did?
everybody around me said pop. When we moved south, I kept seeing people go, because in the South, everybody calls everything Coke.
Yeah.
I'm having a Coke.
Mm.
Even if you're having a Sprite, you're having a Coke.
Wow.
So yeah, but I got into the habit of saying soda, which just threw everybody off
Yeah.
because neither place that I lived said soda. So I'm like, I'm just gonna be the contrarian. I'm calling it soda, and if I'm really feeling like I want to get under somebody's skin, I'll say soda pop.
Soda, oh, yeah, soda pop.
I'm having a soda pop. No, I'm nailing you with both of them. So.
Like it's pretty wild in New York because we're in central New York, in Auburn, Syracuse area. Mostly people say soda, but and my mother can attest to this too. But if you go 30 minutes north in Oswego, New York, they all say pop. We have family
Yeah.
there, and half our family says pop, and we're like, it's not
Soda
even.
pop.
Yeah, it's not even. a
Abby, do you
30-minute
want a
drive.
pap?
I was
That's the Michigan accent.
Pap. Yeah.
Abby, do you want a pap?
Yeah.
That's
That's
what I grew
because
up around. So.
most of Oswego came from Long Island.
That
All
is
right.
true.
I
mean,
went to
honestly-
college in Oswego. Yeah, it was all Long Island people, and by the end, they came in as freshmen to be like, "Fucking Long Island's the best." And then when they were seniors, like, "Fuck this, Long Island's the worst. We need you guys."
So here's a question. On Long Island, because I'm not hearing you pop your G, but people will say Long Island. You'll hear
Right, Long
that.
Island.
Yeah, where does that come from?
Just
I
the
don't
accent down there.
Anybody say
I know some serious Long Islanders, and some of them do say
Yeah.
that. It's
But
like
I feel like
3 words.
that?
It's the same thing as the Syracuse, where is we will hear, like, the people here will say
Hold on, not yet.
it's Syracuse. It's Syracuse.
Syracuse.
When
But
people
everybody
say
else says
Syracuse, I don't
Right.
care.
Syracuse.
Like it doesn't bother me to
Yeah.
say.
Oh
people
no,
say
I don't care because
Yeah.
people from Syracuse
Syracuse.
are
That's
terrible
Syracuse.
douchebags, and we
Yeah.
hate everybody.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. We
Uh,
are easily the most miserable people on the earth. I've been a lot of places.
All right. So is it
No, we're
Right
good.
now,
so is it
Call
Clemson
it-
or Clemson?
I would say Clemson.
Clemson.
Which do you say?
Clemson.
I say
Okay, and
Clemson. Yeah.
And see, I say there's no Z in it.
Yeah.
I
it's
know,
people-
Clemson.
But people who say it the other way, they'll say Clemson. They'll say
Hmm.
the people say, well, there's no P in it. But I'm like, it's like Clemson. So they'll make fun of because that's the way I grew up saying it was Clemson.
Hey, Nick, say Mira.
Okay, so it's mirror. I always say mirror, but my mom, who was only born in Long Island, right? You weren't actually, you didn't grow
No,
up
I learned to talk here, right?
Yeah, you learned to talk in central New York, but the only Long Island accent she has is the word Mira.
I can't say, and he always reminds me of that. I can say Mira. I don't say mirror.
I never
Mira.
knew that. I've known you for a long time. I never knew you were from Long Island.
That's
That's
well,
hey.
honestly, it's
I
so
used
funny.
to like you.
It's funny.
Yeah, why would you admit that?
Yeah,
No, I grew up here. My family, my dad got transferred to Syracuse, but all my brothers were in Long Island, Bethpage, Levittown area.
but it's funny, like that you said. I think it was you, Steve, that said, people moved from Long Island to Oswego, and that's what
Yes.
my family did.
Yeah.
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 But even one of my close friends, I remember I met her before when she moved to Oswego for college, and then he met her later on, and they were always like hardcore, like Long Island's the best, and now they live in Oswego and they love it, and they both work at the college, and
Yeah, Oswego's cool. Oswego reminds me of Auburn.
Yeah.
It's very, very similar to Auburn, I think.
yeah, Auburn's cooler.
Auburn's got more breweries.
I've got a lot of like I'm very particular about my suburbs. Cicero sucks.
God.
Because I grew up there.
I mean, I haven't really spent too much time lately since I moved out of Cicero, but yeah.
Oh man, it's still a nightmare. There's just too many
Cicero?
people. Yeah, there's too many people.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy, and
It's-
especially with new
yeah.
businesses coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now Micron, it's insane. But I mean Utica grew on me a little bit, but ultimately, I moved to the suburbs and Camillus, Auburn is my favorite.
nice. I'm
Suburb.
glad you like Auburn. Oh, I'm drinking. Actually, it's funny because my girlfriend Molly and I,
I'm off here.
we went through the entire Breaking
So-
Bad series. We watched all of Breaking Bad. Then there was a Breaking Bad movie, and then there was
Yeah.
Better Call Saul. And we went through all of it. And then
Yeah.
we're a little slow on Better Call Saul. We just finished it. I know a couple months ago. I think it ended. And Saul's favorite drink was a rusty nail, which is it's like Scotch whiskey, Drambuie, and like lemon juice. We found out
What is
that
Drambuie?
it's like so it's not a liqueur, but it tastes like a liqueur. It's like Scotch and like honey and some spices. But it's 40% alcohol. It's not like a 15. Like, it's not
That's
like
a shot. That's a normal shot.
It is, but it's very sweet and very very easy to drink. Like it's great to sip on ice on a nice hot summer day. It's really great because you still kind of get that aftertaste of the peated Scotch, but it has a lot of honey to it. It's kind of syrupy, like another whatever, like a flavored whiskey. But we found out that Molly's like allergic to it. She woke up with like an allergic reaction. There's
Oh,
like
no.
spices, like herbs and spices in it, so we think that maybe she might be allergic to one of those. So now I'm stuck with this whole bottle, and I have to drink it on the nights that she's working late. So I am sipping on Dewar's and just a little bit of Drambuie mixed in with it. So
Yours white label or 12?
yeah, it's white label. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a good standard. I know. It's that we just when we're making cocktails and stuff, we like to use that one's a good one, especially for a rusty nail.
So for all the Scotch snobbery in the world, I think it's still something like 90% of Scotch sold is blended.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So even though single malt sounds like everybody talks about single malts, nobody,
Yeah.
the blend is the dirty little secret you have in your cabinet that you're usually drinking after you have a sip of a single malt.
That's true. That's
So,
true. I have nothing
yeah.
against. I have nothing against blend. I
Yeah.
do have a a passion for the. Oh, I will say, Colin, my business partner, meant to be here. He's actually in India right now.
What?
On a work trip? Yeah.
Oh my
So,
God.
He worked for a company called TCG Player. I know that, Steve, a lot of people know that. It's like an online gaming community that blew up in Syracuse, and it's like known for their Magic the Gathering trading cards online and stuff like that. Um, they just got bought out by eBay and have a huge management change, and which is great for the company, great for the owners. But he got an offer.
Potentially.
No. Everything was great, but like now because they're owned by this major corporation, other smaller companies that are doing the same thing are like reaching out to these people that work there. Like if you still want to work for a local company, blah blah blah. So now he works for a company that is like they sell. It's pretty much like Twitch, but for selling like comic books and something. I forget what the name of it is.
It's for
And
selling. It's like Twitch, but we're selling hardcore porn.
oh my
That's
God,
what Colin
no,
does now.
it's selling just kind of like
Secret Life.
yeah, secretly like like collectible stuff, like baseball cards, action figures, comic books, that sort of thing. And he just got a job, and they're like, oh, by the way, we're having this big, huge conference in India, and everyone gets to go. So he had nightmare flight. He was supposed to be on the call from India, but his flight got delayed like several times, and he got in. And right now it's like, well, right now it's like 7:30 in the morning there, but he got in and he texted, and it was like 5 a.m. when he got in at their time, and it was like 6 o'clock our time, and he goes, I'm not gonna make the call. I just got in. So he wanted to apologize to everyone. He wanted to be here, and he thought it'd be cool to be streaming from India. But he says hello to everybody.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I had a conference in India that I was thinking about going to, and then I was thinking, where would I fly? How would I get there? And so I started looking at airfares, and realized that we're basically, halfway.
The other side.
Yeah. So it's like, do I want to fly endlessly over the Pacific Ocean, or do I want to fly through the Middle East and get
Right.
there? That's kind of my choice. So it's like, well, you could stop off in Abu Dhabi or something and maybe look out and see the
Yeah.
see the wealth. Beyond that, I ended up not going because I was like, I'm 6'6". There's no way I'm going to be sitting on a plane in a cramped little plane for
Oh my
24 hours.
God. I know.
Not happening.
No.
Not happening.
No. Yeah, Colin he flew from New York City into Dubai. Not Dubai. It was Qatar. And he said that was like a 13-hour flight.
Wow.
And on the way back, it's like against the wind, so it's like 17 hours back. He's like he's dreading it.
Yeah.
But that's where Colin is. He'll be here for the cocktail class. Also, guys, he's making a very delicious. I'm very excited about the cocktail class this month. It is we are using our chai spiced whiskey, our corn whiskey, and he made it's like a pumpkin tea almost with a little bit of oat milk in it. It's very good. I tried it the other day. Colin's teaching the class this month, and which is crazy. He wanted to do it this month. That he's like spending 9 days in India. As soon as he gets back, he's like has to make all the deliveries and stuff. Very excited about that. That's on the 28th, that Monday. So be there for that. Yeah. What else?
We get the chicken tiki masala cocktail
when he comes back. Yeah. So. Becky and Holly. I got an eye roll calling you guys out.
Throw him back in.
She's like,
I didn't play. I was trying to find the mute button.
You're like, I saw this. This is what happened. You're like, that's right.
I was looking for the mute button.
Yeah.
Oh wait! Before you ask
Oh, yeah.
me what you're gonna ask me, can I ask you about the neon light on your
Yeah.
wall? Is that new or is that old? Did I just miss it?
No, it's brand new.
Yeah, it's definitely new.
I had an idea that the first couple weeks that our tasting room is open, we are not going to promote it and just have this light in the window. And so anyone driving by is like, what is that? And they can check it out. like speakeasy style, you know.
Mhm.
Well, Becky's been eyeing it down since.
Hey guys, I'm gonna go do kid stuff. I'm sorry.
Oh, go do
Okay.
kids stuff.
Take care.
Thanks, Steve.
Good night.
Good night, Steve.
I bought Black Label special for tonight. My favorite.
Ooh, nice.
That'll make the
Drink
kid
that.
stuff way
I
better.
did, yes. Great.
Kid
Love
stuff
Black
way
Label.
easier.
Good night.
And there he is.
There,
And there-
there
And
you
he's
go.
gone.
Yeah, and he's gone. Yeah, I got it. I don't know. There was like a little Etsy shop I found it on.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Very cute.
I can send you the link.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For a hot second when it started, when the video started, I thought of DJ Marshmallow. And then I saw, do you know who DJ
Oh, it
Marshmallow is?
I don't know, but it does look like
Fortnite.
kind of.
He wears the
No,
marshmallow.
I'm a
on his
dork. I'm
head.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wears like a marshmallow costume like over his head so you can't tell what his face looks like, and he's a DJ. But that was well before he became a Fortnite
That's what you
character.
thought that was.
That's what I thought that was, and then I was like, oh, those are ice cubes.
Mhm.
That's definitely whiskey glass.
um,
Nick's not cool enough to know who DJ Marshmallow is.
I am not cool enough to know who DJ Marshmallow
I don't
is.
think that his name actually has DJ in front of it.
It's just
His name is
Marshmallow.
just his name is just Marshmallow.
Oh my
Probably.
god.
I just got schooled. Yeah. Mhm.
Anyway, what did you
Go
call
on,
on us for? What did you interrupt our conversation for?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Jeez Louise.
Kidding. We're here for you. We're here for Sellerman's Folly.
I just want to know what your night's looking like. Like, what are you guys up to tonight? You know?
You know, the night is young.
Could be
The
anything.
night is young, Mr. Bartender. We're not exactly sure.
Mr. Bartender.
Drinking, food. We didn't do charcuterie this time.
Yeah, what did you
We
do?
did
Just rye boat and
We
mozzarella
had
sticks.
mozzarella sticks and a rye boat.
Nice.
Yep.
I almost also got a veggie tray for two, but Becky needed these fancy cinnamon sticks and some sacrifices were made.
And she knows how I feel about Ew.
Oh, you don't even like vegetables?
I don't even like vegetables.
It would have been a waste.
God.
Don't like
Like-
vegetables.
No.
Vegetables are way better than fruit.
No. Fruit way better than vegetables.
Yeah, that's an extremely hot take.
Yeah.
No,
it's-
I would rather eat a carrot than an apple any day, anytime.
Give me all the apples. I will take them all.
All right, guys.
You
You,
can have all
know
the
where to
carrots.
bring your apples and your carrots.
Where does the tomato fall in all of this?
yes.
No
right,
thanks.
right.
The
Neither.
garbage,
Yep.
the garbage disposal.
You just scrape
That's
there.
where
and
that-
garbage.
where that falls. Unless
It's marinara sauce.
or with the mozzarella and the basil and the
That's
glaze,
what I'm saying.
Caprese.
Caprese too.
some
Yeah.
of that. Then
That's what I find amazing about the tomato. I cannot stand it in tomato soup. I cannot stand it sliced in a sandwich, but I absolutely love it in a sauce.
or diced. Diced is okay.
Yeah, diced is
Sliced-
okay. I make chili with diced tomatoes, so yeah.
Sliced is never good.
Yeah.
You know when you bite it, but like the
The
skin.
skin.
Yes.
Yeah, that depends on the tomato, I think.
Yeah, those I don't like ripe ones.
My mother makes an amazing lasagna, and she told me.
I
she-
had your mom's lasagna. It was awesome.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mom's lasagna.
Birthday party.
Oh, I wasn't invited. It's fine.
That's
Molly
his
didn't-
birthday.
Molly
That's
didn't
his
have your
birthday
food.
dinner.
Yeah. So I'm going out of town for Thanksgiving. I'll actually be in North Carolina, not in South Carolina, but right outside of Charlotte. But so my mother's doing a little mini Thanksgiving on Saturday. Everyone's invited. No, I'm just kidding.
We're like, no, really, don't show up.
So you're
My
gonna be
mom
about,
only made enough lasagna for me. Thank you.
so you're gonna be about an hour away from me.
Oh, okay, not bad.
Yeah,
not
because
bad.
I'm not that far from Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How have
Any,
we never
any,
talked about
any great distilleries or breweries in the Charlotte area that you recommend?
No.
No. Okay.
Charlotte is North Carolina is a definite no on distilleries.
Okay.
Hit the distilleries while you're driving through Virginia because there's
Okay.
lots of distilleries in Virginia. But North Carolina, I have a friend of mine who lives in North Carolina, and I asked him, I said, "What name for me some good distilleries around you?" And he lives in the Raleigh area. He said, "Just stay away." And so there is one good distillery. I grew up after I moved from Michigan. We lived in Asheville, North Carolina. There is a distillery right outside of Asheville in Black Mountain called Oat and Grist, I think.
You know what? You mentioned that on the first Whiskey Wednesday call because my
Yeah.
father was actually
Yeah,
hanging out. That's
exactly.
right. Yeah.
Did he go? Did he go?
He didn't get a chance to go, no, but he
Okay.
was yeah, on the way down. I don't know if I'll be driving through Asheville, but
Probably not. It's kind of out of the way.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the other
it's
way.
in the country, yeah, mountains.
Yeah, it's west. You'd almost be in Tennessee.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
did we thought about extending our stay, and then like making a little, but you know, we got to work. Bills need to be
Yeah.
paid. So, but yeah.
Molly's brother, it's like the research. Isn't Molly's brother like a researcher or something? A professor?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna be in, I don't know. I know there's like the science triangle or something in North
Research-
Carolina.
Research
which I think
triangle,
is,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
research,
that's probably where they're at. So maybe
Yeah.
if there's some
Oh.
alcohol researchers or something, they're doing some
yeah,
field
like
testing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also just got the Shiner Holiday beer. If you guys are beer drinkers, it's a little sweet for me. I wasn't expecting that. Usually holiday stuff is like spiced, and I was kind of hoping for that. But it's peaches and pecans is what I'm tasting.
So is it
And-
high
Is it good?
ABV or
No, it's 5.4.
Here?
is it okay?
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
usually
not,
the higher alcohol's really the sweeter ones, and I don't tend to like the sweeter.
Yeah.
beer.
No, but it is like it's very peachy, which I kind of not into them. I like peach as long as it's done right, you know. But this one, I mean, that's just my opinion. So if you're in,
It's not.
Now,
But-
if you like peaches and you're going to Charlotte, you should go to Gaffney, South Carolina, which is 30 minutes away, and you
okay.
can get your picture taken with the Peachoid,
Oh, that's right.
which is the big water tower
Yeah, yeah.
that looks like a peach. We called it the big butt in the sky because that's kind of what it looks like when you drive, except it's orange.
That's-
So yeah, we George is always trying to steal our thunder. We're the largest producer of peaches in the nation, but Georgia, go to Atlanta and they just all they can talk about is peaches.
the Georgia peaches. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's see here. It's kind of hard figuring out whiskey. We're still trying to figure out Whiskey Wednesday. I love these. They're all so like all these conversations are so organic that like I'm like you know we could just talk about anything really. I think last month, Colin, me, Becky, and Holly and Tony just talked about what we ate for dinner for the 2 hours.
Pretty much.
I think that's what it was.
We could have a whole ass conversation about Charlotte. Jeez, my mom has a couple houses in Charlotte, so I go down there.
A couple of houses in Charlotte.
So she like
Doesn't
buys-
everybody?
I don't know. I don't.
she buys and sells houses. She like flips houses and stuff. So she's
Oh, I see.
she's got a couple in Charlotte. She's got a couple in New York. But and
Doesn't
my
she have a
brother,
couple in Florida.
yeah, she's got 2 in Florida.
Just
So-
so everybody's clear.
So my brother lives in Charlotte, so that's why she bought a couple there because her and my dad were like snowbirds, and they would go to Florida. But now nobody's in Florida that they like anymore. They've all passed. So she's thinking about selling her Florida houses and just keeping the Charlotte and the New York houses because some of her kids are in New York, some of her kids in Charlotte. So I spent some time in Charlotte too. But so my favorite food there that I didn't think that I would like, but I do like, it's that chicken that's just starting to like come up here.
Hot chicken.
It's spicy. Shoot, I forget what it's called.
What is it?
Ricky's?
Flakes?
No, it's a type of chicken. It's like a flavor of chicken, but it's like all over the place down there.
Like an ash.
No, we have like Rocky's Chicken Shack. Is that what
It's
you
not, I don't. It's not a place.
They
it's a
okay.
kind.
It's a kind. Okay.
Kind
Like-
of chicken. I
It's
don't
like a
Spicy
kind of-
chicken.
It's like a
Is it
it's like
a
a
chicken
way of
cock.
yeah, right.
chicken fried chicken.
no. Now I'm on pressure and I can't think of it.
Because I always think of
He knows
like
what you're
special
talking
kind of
about.
chicken. Nashville has their Nashville hot chicken, which is a big thing. But
Yeah. I've
I
seen
like
it.
hot, but I don't like to. I don't want to be overly uncomfortable
Oh yeah. Yeah.
while
It's
I'm
just-
eating.
that's
Hot
what
is
we
good.
want.
Cajun food's great.
Actually, the brand new
I just
place,
don't want to be more than
57.
sweating when I
Oh
eat
yeah.
it.
the chicken place.
I do like the spicy food. Richard, do you like spicy food?
Yeah, I like spicy food a lot. I shouldn't eat it. I have like digestive issues that prevent me from eating it a lot, but I ignore the advice of doctors and, and go for it anyway.
You only live once.
Right.
Right, yeah, exactly. Um, there is a restaurant that opened here in Brooklyn recently that is, I guess it's Atlanta, Georgia, originated there. Somebody that it's like she was like tired of not having enough vegan places to eat, and so she opened like her own vegan place in Atlanta, Georgia, and it became super popular, like mega popular with like a lot of like famous like sports and movie stars and stuff. And they just opened one in my old neighborhood in Brooklyn, and it's a vegan restaurant. It was like a vegan restaurant that originated in Atlanta, Georgia, and became extremely popular. And they opened one around the corner of my old apartment. And I was walking by there the other day, and it had a line that wrapped around the block twice.
Wow.
What? Twice?
Yeah, and they had
Wow.
like when the grand opening, they shut down the whole street and had like a block party.
Oh
I
my
think like
God.
Shaq was there,
What?
and like
That's
yeah, it was
insane.
Hold down those vegans. Wow.
Yeah.
it was insane. But it's
Yeah.
called Slutty Vegan is the restaurant name.
Really?
It's called
Yeah, and it's all like risque food item names. It's very interesting. Like it's a vegan restaurant. A that's already interesting that it's so popular and it's vegan, but it's also called the Slutty Vegan,
Oh my
which is
God.
like doubly interesting. But it's always, and I've been there subsequently, and it always has a line like around. Like I want to try it. Like it sounds pretty good. It's a vegan
Yeah.
burger place, um, that is like individually owned. It's franchised out now, but it sounds really good.
And how long?
It's just
How long they've been open now?
maybe earlier a few months or a few months ago. So maybe half a year or something like that.
Oh my God. And they're still that busy where you haven't been able to check them out, huh?
Every time I go to Fort Greene and I walk by there, it's just like, yeah, the line is
I'm
like halfway down the block.
I'm looking at a picture of a hamburger that they sell, and it looks like a hamburger, but it looks like one of those. It's like this tall
Oh yeah.
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Right.
layered with cheese and all. I wonder
Oh my God.
if the cheese is how vegan are we getting with this with
It's
this
got to
food?
be if they advertise as a vegan cafe, it's got to be 100% vegan. I
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it should be.
A
Yeah.
lot of vegans would go there and get real cheese and be very upset.
Right. Yeah, I think like Spike Lee was at the opening. I'm just looking up like people who've tweeted it out. Usher, Viola Davis, like so
Whoa.
Gabrielle Union. Like holy shit.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, I hope you get to try sometime. I want to try.
Yeah,
sometime.
I mean,
My
It looks
Yeah.
like
go-to-
everything. It looks like everything they make looks like a meat product of some form. So maybe that's what the
Yeah, that's what it is. where
that's
it's like
that's the thing that's catching people.
you can
Yeah.
get vegan food that actually looks and tastes like normal stuff.
yeah, which
they're
I think what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting better with that stuff, though. I will say, I eat mostly vegetarian, and the some of the vegetarian like chicken and like we literally cook like Molly's really good at cooking like veggie burgers, but their veggie burgers now they even bleed like normal burgers, and I'm like,
Oh
how
my.
is this even? What are they putting like dye in it to make it look like it's
Yeah. I
bleeding?
mean,
or
I
something
was
that?
reading
It's
like
crazy.
the Beyond Burger patty where it's like wash your like don't eat uncooked. I was like, what? Do you just like put E. coli into these vegan burgers?
Salmonella in your
Simulate? Yeah.
just for. I mean, we want to be true to the game if
I
we can.
know. That's,
Nick, do
that's
you eat fish or shrimp anymore or no?
So I'm not a strict vegetarian. I will say my parents' cooking is just I've been lucky to be brought up with good cooks. Like my mom and dad are very, very good cooks. So like if when my dad's cooking his beer can chicken, like I can't stay away. So I'm gonna have some because it's very good. And if there's shrimp out at a party, like I'm gonna have some because I just love it. But I mostly eat vegetarian. Now that I live with a strict vegetarian. Like, I don't eat it as much.
Good to be
Um,
flexible. I like
yeah, that's
being
true.
like 80-20 vegetarian versus
Yeah,
whatever or
it's
less.
just it's also like I also have like it's called like hemochromatosis, which is like I have too much iron in my blood. So if I have red meat, it's not good for me. And I haven't had it in so long that
shit.
if I have red meat, it could like upset my stomach, you know. So I avoid red meat at all costs. But I never really ate burger. I didn't really care for steak that much. I didn't really care for burgers or ground beef. The veggie burgers I like way more than that anyway, before I was even vegetarian. So it was an
Mm.
easy transition. But I will, if someone, if there's shrimp out at a party, I'm gonna have some. It's just so good. Same thing with chicken. I can't stay away. Like, um, but I never call as much as I eat vegetarian, I never call myself one because I know, summertime barbecue.
Sometimes you dip into it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely do. And it's good to say that. That way, if like you call yourself a vegetarian and someone sees you sneaking some, they go, "Oh, I saw you."
Got 'em.
Yeah, get him. But yeah, no, I can't stay away. I mean, we had when we went to Rise and Shine a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
there was like bacon, and I was like, oh, I gotta try this. I can't stay away from certain like salty meats. It's so good. But yeah, yeah, I don't know.
I have a question. If anybody's ever had, so I've been to Chicago a couple times. I know there's a lot of Chicagoisms, but not necessarily people have been here. But I've heard of Malort. Has anyone ever had Malort?
I have, yeah.
Is that awful? Is it
It's
god awful?
It actually is not as bad as I thought. It's like I was in a touring band for a long time, and so I've been all over the place. And every time I've played a gig in Chicago, all the locals. So it's a local thing
Yeah.
in Chicago. I don't actually know what it's made of. I can do a quick search here. It's like it's not.
Is it like Scrapple?
I don't know
Have
what
you had-
Scrapple is. What's that? Is that a local thing?
So Scrapple's a Philly thing. It's basically cornmeal and all the leftover parts of the pig ground up,
Wow.
and then you slice it and fry it with an egg.
Is it like Spam?
No, because Spam is more like ham type stuff, whereas this is
I wasn't sure it was in Spam. It sounded familiar.
yeah, no, it's more like sausage,
Okay.
like a sliced sausage. But I always encourage people to taste it, but do not read the package. Because
Do
if
not
you read,
what?
do not read the package.
Oh god. Okay. So yeah, Malort.
It's lips and ass. Oh,
It's not muted.
oh,
Just doing
Sorry.
a quick search. What you gotta say, Becky?
I was just gonna say something my dad used to say about that. That it was just lips and assholes that fell off the conveyor belt when they were making hot dogs.
About Scrapple?
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Oh,
That's funny.
Like leftover fat. and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. mm.
Well, now I live in the South where they eat chitlins, so I don't feel so bad that I like Scrapple.
Going back to Malort though, yeah, it's a liquor that like. So I just doing a quick search. It's actually Swedish. It comes from Sweden, but I don't know why Chicago. It's a Chicago thing, but it's just like I feel like Chicago has it for tourists. I feel like they don't actually drink it themselves, but when they see like someone not from Chicago, they're like, "You got to try this," just to mess with people because it's so awful. And I want to say I've been to Chicago maybe 3 times or something like that, and every time I played a gig at a bar, and they're like, "You got to do a shot of this stuff," and everyone's like, "It's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever." And I remember doing it. I'm like, "It's not good, but it's not the worst thing ever." Like, it just tastes like doing a shot of like well tequila or something. It's like, it's
Oh,
not
really?
something,
Ooh. Yeah.
which is not
But I
good.
think-
It's not good.
See, I would not put it past a Chicagoan to drink that because if you think about it, they go to Chicago Cub games and they pay $10 for an old style beer.
Old style. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my guess is that their palate isn't quite as
That's true.
so it's funny, when I was flying through Pittsburgh, I stopped in Pittsburgh airport as a layover, and they have a really nice airport, and I was in a restaurant in there, and they were doing I sat at the bar, and the guy said something about Imp and Earn, and I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
He said, oh, it's a imperial whiskey, a shot of imperial whiskey and an Iron City beer, and that's what they drink there. Well, I tasted imperial whiskey and I'm like, that's not so good. And then I tasted the Iron City beer and I'm like, well, that's not so good either. And then I put them together and I'm like, it's still not good. I guess this is what you drink when you're on a budget. I don't know. I can't quite, but I mean, I'm from Detroit, where we have Stroh's and Schlitz were,
Schlitz. Oh yeah.
big beers. And actually, when I was going to school in Philadelphia, they have the weirdest alcohol laws down there. So I'd have to go down to a beer warehouse or to a liquor warehouse to buy beer. And you couldn't buy a 6-pack. You could only buy a case. So my whole college time in Philadelphia, I would drive the car down across the border into Delaware, because their rules were the same, but that was the closest warehouse I could get to. And I paid $5.99 for a 24 case of Schlitz. And then and it actually came with $1 rebate on it. So as a college student, I saved up my rebates because I drank a lot of Schlitz when I was going to school in Philadelphia, and then I just sent in like six of the rebates to because it's not worth the stamp to send $1 rebate in on a. But yeah, that's how I got through college, was drinking 24 cases of Schlitz because I couldn't buy a 6-pack anywhere.
Yeah.
So
That's funny.
it's like, are you trying to get us to stop drinking, or are you trying to get us to really drink?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, was that like a blue law thing, or like to like inhibit people from buying small parcels? It's like, okay, you can only buy large volumes, so people won't.
I think they wanted people to have to go way out of their way to have to
Yeah.
make an effort to go buy it, is
Yeah.
what it mainly was, because these places were never. I mean, I lived in Philadelphia and I had to drive miles to go find a place where I could actually go buy beer. Now, they do sell it in restaurants, and that's what's weird. They don't sell it in grocery stores, they don't sell it in liquor stores, but if you go into a restaurant, you can buy a 6-pack out of their cooler.
Yeah, that's wild. I went to Philly with a couple of friends a few years ago, and we were just like, all right, let's go to the corner store, buy a 6-pack, go back to the Airbnb, and like drink some beer. And they're like, no, you have to go to the bar to buy beer. And I was like, well, I know I can buy beer at a bar. Like, no. If you want to buy a 6-pack of beer, you got to go to the bar and ask them for a 6-pack of beer to buy it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're shitting us. Like, we're out of towners. We're clearly not from here, so you're like fucking around with us. He's like, no.
Yeah.
And so we went to the bar and like, we want beer. And he was like, yeah, you're in a bar. Obviously you want beer. I was like, no. We want like a 6-pack of beer.
It's not a bad marketing thing for a bar to be like, all right, we're not going to sit here and drink, but you can take a 6-pack to go. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've seen, that's the thing. Everywhere you go, you kind of have to learn what the local liquor laws are. If you're trying to buy a bottle of whiskey, I mean, go to Kentucky, you can just go to a Kroger and they got it in the grocery store.
That's true.
But then if you go to, I lived in Tennessee, and it was funny in Tennessee, if you bought a 6-pack of beer, if the checkout person was underaged, they couldn't put it across the scanner. They would have to call a manager to come over, scan it for them, but then they could pick it up and put it into the bag. And I'm like, I don't get this. I mean, is this just like a second of accountability and then let them do whatever they want to do? And then when I was in Dallas, you would think that Dallas, Texas would be a wet area, but North Dallas was dry.
Huh.
And I lived in Richardson, Texas, which was just north of North Dallas, and it was dry too. The whole area was dry. But there was somebody, and it's because of their weird prohibition laws. What they did was they made it to where like a whole area had to vote to become wet. And so it was very hard to get the legislation passed, and they lost some of the records, and some of the records were confusing. So nobody knew how to get these things passed. But if you had a small town in that area, you could get that incorporated town to be dry. So this millionaire decided that he was going to buy a plot of land, and it was right on the North Texas or North Dallas border, and he incorporated it as the town of Buckingham. And Buckingham basically had three things. It had an apartment complex, and it had a liquor store on either end of it. And everybody in North Dallas went to Buckingham to go buy their liquor because that was the only place you could buy your liquor.
Oh my God.
So they finally got the laws checked, because the last time I went back, Buckingham doesn't have any liquor stores anymore because
Oh my
Buckingham
God.
doesn't exist anymore. It got absorbed into another town, and now the whole area is wet. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I had to get used to. I was like, when I first moved here, the idea that you can't buy beer and liquor in the same establishment was like really bizarre. Because in Arizona, you just go to Walgreens, you get, your toilet paper, your soda, your beer,
Beer?
and your hard alcohol all in the same
Yeah.
store at the same time.
Yeah.
As
And they
it
had a
should be.
huge alcohol section. They had a huge liquor section, a huge refrigerated beer section, and then everything else that was the Walgreens. And that was every, Walmart, Walgreens, Target.
Yeah.
You could buy everything everywhere, regardless. And here, I mean, even New York. I guess I see some bodegas that sell like bottles, but I'm assuming that's like not necessarily on the up and up.
Yeah, so I think there was a law. I don't know. I don't know if something passed or whatever, but I'm starting to see now in bodegas and gas stations and that sort of thing, you can buy like liqueurs. Like
Okay, yeah, that's
now,
what I see.
now all these hard alcohol, like the big players like Jack Daniels and Jim Beam and you know Smirnoff and all these, the major places, they're now making the same product but like 20% alcohol. And you can now get that in at least in gas stations. Like I saw like those mini fireballs
Yeah,
at
yeah.
a gas station right down the street from my house.
Yes.
You can buy like 10 of them.
Exactly what we were just talking about.
Yes.
Fireball
Yeah.
at the gas station.
Like, how come
Yeah,
you can't
fireball at the
buy-
gas station. And like that was the
Ooh,
first
I love fireballs.
that was
Yeah,
the
I
first one.
Jack fire.
That sounds
I want
dangerous.
anything but Fireball, please,
Yeah.
at the gas.
And honestly, it fools people because if you don't look at the label and notice that it's like smaller, it's actually like
I should look. Yeah, I wondered. That's
Yeah.
probably the same thing. Like they have the bottles there, but I've never bought one. But I'll take a
Yeah.
look to see if it is that thing. I mean, it
Because
must
they
be.
look-
I mean,
They look exactly the same. It fooled me. Like I was like, oh, you can get like these.
It's not regular Fireball.
It's
That's a
not. No,
smaller
it's lower in alcohol. It's like
Oh,
a-
it's a diluted.
Oh,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
That makes sense. That's why they would do that.
So-
to
Don't
Fire-
dilute my Jack. No.
that's how they're
Oh.
like getting away with it. And I'm like, wow,
I'll
that's
go-
like
I'll go-
it's messed up that they're kind of doing that, but it's also like it's kind of for a company, it's smart to like.
I never thought to look at it, but I'm always like, why is this here?
Right. Yeah.
I
right.
don't understand why they're selling this specifically.
But you can get like I've seen like Smirnoff flavored ones in gas stations too, but it's the same thing. They're like 20% alcohol. They're not like the normal 40.
I
But
mean,
like
this is
40% is still okay. Like,
As
Hey,
long
it's
as you
not
drink twice
fire-
as
Yeah,
much,
you gotta
right?
drink twice
Yeah.
as much.
20% is fine. Take it.
Yeah.
But I don't
I
want
mean-
Fireball.
I mean, more and more places are selling. I mean, like becoming more popular are like these craft beers, or even like major beer producers that are producing like the really high ABV beers.
Yeah.
You can go to a gas station and find 9, 10, 10.5, 11% freaking ABV beers at a gas station. It's
Yeah.
like that's that's a lot.
I know that's
I-
true. Yeah.
I grew up in the state where we couldn't have over 4-point beer for a long time. 4% was as
Wow.
high as they let in the state.
Yeah, the
and,
small beers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I
So
get
that pretty much left that was the time before craft beer really started taking off too. So that was
Yeah.
part of the reason it wasn't really necessary back then.
Mhm.
Is that something is in England? I mean, I went on a trip when I was like really little, well, in high school, so I shouldn't have drank. But
Shouldn't have. Is that an admission?
but from what I
Is
understand,
that
like a lot
Freudian
of,
slip or what?
I mean, I don't remember exactly what it was, but from what I understand, like a lot of the beer in Europe or at least in England is all kind of small ABV, where America's where it kind of like maybe not just America, but
That
in
may be true.
England
That may be
specifically,
true because like Guinness is not high alcohol.
it isn't. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look. I know that they do imperial stouts, so I would imagine
That's
those
true.
are going to be higher ABV, but it's probably more lower.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
I
think.
think like the pub culture there is just like you go like so frequently that if it was in general a higher alcohol content, it wouldn't be sustainable for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing too is they have zero tolerance in terms of drinking and driving. So
Oh, fair.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot of, but people aren't as attached to automobiles there. That's the other thing too.
Mhm.
I laugh because when I did my trip across Scotland and around Scotland going to distilleries, I talked to somebody and I said, I was in Wick, which is way up at the north part. And they said, where are you staying tonight? And I said, I'm staying in Fort William. And they're like, you're driving how far? Now, this was like 12 noon, and Fort William is probably a 3-hour drive, but they just could not believe that anybody drove that far. And I'm like, in North America, 3 hours is like, if you're going somewhere, you're at least driving 3 hours to get there if it's anywhere that's of any interest. So, especially down here in the South, I mean, there's, I go 2.5 hours to Atlanta, or I go an hour and a half to Charlotte, or 3.5 hours to Charleston. And those are really my options. If you're in Texas, I lived in Dallas for a while. It's 5 hours to Houston. And
So yeah, that's
not
driving.
much, yeah, and there's not much to do in Houston. If you decide to go east, you're going to end up in Shreveport. So there's not really a whole lot going on there in 5 hours. And if you go south, further south, you can go to Galveston, which is probably the worst beach I've ever been to, and that's 6 hours away. So it's like, I mean, you
I've driven through
driving,
West Texas, and that's not
ugh.
something I ever want to do more than once.
Yeah.
I get you. Oh, I got to talk about Arizona now. How long did you live in Arizona?
Up until about 7 years ago, which is when I moved to New York City. So
Okay, I got a bone to pick with you.
yeah.
Oh, boy.
It is the only.
Fight.
Yeah, there you go.
Fight.
No, this is funny. I tell people I love driving. I absolutely love driving, but Arizona is the one state I will not purposefully drive through again. And the reason is, I was doing a driving trip across the US. I left Greenville. I was driving all the way out to California. And so I was driving through all these little areas. I get to Arizona and I went to Tombstone. And then I decided to drive down towards there's a mountain range that goes down towards into Mexico. And as you get south of Tucson. So I was kind of taking that route down there and looking at the mountains as I go. And as I came driving back up towards Tucson, I was on a back road, nothing there, middle of nowhere. I did not see the speed limit sign, but I'm driving along and a policeman comes up behind me. And I'm like, well, I have no idea, but I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I slowed the car down to like 45 and thought I'd be okay. And he pulls me over and he's like, well, it's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit here. I'm going, nobody lives here. What's the deal? I didn't say that to him, but I'm like, he's not going to give me a ticket. He's not going to give. Well, he ended up giving me a ticket. And so I said to myself, after I got that ticket, I was so frustrated because I hadn't had a ticket since I was first got my driver's license. And I said, I am going to really pay attention to the speed limit signs the rest of the time I'm here in Arizona. And that's when I realized that when you're like in a little town like Winslow, I think it is, or it's just west of, it's like 15 miles an hour to drive through town. And I'm going, are you kidding me? 15 miles? So I had a policeman come up behind me while I was driving through Winslow. And I decided to drive 10 miles an hour just to annoy the heck out of him.
Oh
But
my God.
but the worst was I decided I had this big book and it's called The Best Drives in North America. And so it had the Coronado Trail, and it said you should go drive the Coronado Trail. Well, the Coronado Trail goes through the mountains on the very eastern side of Arizona. There are no pull-offs. I mean, you're basically driving through the mountains for 95 miles. And as soon as I got onto the Coronado Trail, the speed limit dropped to 25 miles an hour. Then it went down to 15 miles an hour. Then it went back to 25 miles an hour. This drive took me all day because I was determined I was not going to speed at all on this drive, even though there was nobody on this road. And I got up near the end of it on the north end, and you're up in the really high in the mountains, and it started to snow. And I said, please don't tell me I'm going to have to turn around and drive back 95 miles on this thing because I can't get through. So that was my nightmare in Arizona. I was just like, I can't come back here again. That one killed me.
I mean, I mean, that's everything you said is absolutely true. It's something that I've actually noticed in some places, like these small towns, if you're driving to, from Tucson south to one of these places, they'll have the speed limit be some obnoxious value, 20 miles per hour, and then they'll increase it to 25 to 30 or something for a section, and then drop it suddenly to 15, and that's where the speed trap is.
Yeah.
And it's like an intentional design to get you caught by cops, to be caught in a speed trap. But I would say a kind of a regionalism for Arizona is that everyone in Tucson is just angry that they're not Phoenicians. Because everyone hates Phoenix that lives in Tucson, and everyone in Phoenix hates Tucson. But that's not particularly true. I lived in Tucson for a couple of years for college, and I like that area. I like southern Arizona and Sonoran desert stuff in the mountains, the Sierra Vistas, which is probably the mountain range you're driving in.
Yep.
But yeah, the speed limit's like, it's outrageous because if you're in Phoenix, like proper in the biggest city, the highways are all 75 miles per hour, which is amazing. I love going 85, and that's like the flow of traffic if you're in like greater Phoenix area, if you're driving on the highway.
You get south and it just gets crazy.
Yeah, they just like fractionalize the speed limits to crazy amount. I mean, even out east, like I don't know, like the highway speed limits aren't 75 out here. They're like 55, 60. I mean, maybe 65, but yeah, mostly 55, I think.
This was the thing when I was younger, driving up north into the Northeast. It used to frustrate me because you had to pay to drive on the roads, which the turnpike system we didn't have to worry about in the South or in Michigan. But you had to pay for it, and it was 55 miles an hour. It's like, if I'm gonna pay for it, why don't you just let me drive as fast as I want to go? Yeah. that always drove me crazy. So they did start to notch it up. I think. Are you guys 65 now, or is it? Has it broken 70? I think the last place you could get to 70 was on the way into Washington, D.C. And then after that, going north, you were basically 55.
Yeah, it's
65,
65,
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's great. I did a road trip. I mean, I met my girlfriend. I mean, I know Richard through my girlfriend Molly, who's a Patreon member as well. She's just working tonight. But, and I drove during the pandemic when a lot of people weren't working. I ended up driving from New York to Arizona, and I was like, oh my God, once you hit Ohio, I'm like, this is the fastest I've ever gone. Like,
oh no, you didn't speed through Ohio though, I hope.
Dude, Ohio is the worst.
Yeah, because Ohio is like, I've driven in on the turnpike from Pittsburgh to Cleveland, and literally there was a radar gun pointed at me as I crossed the border. I'm like, welcome to Ohio.
Oh no, it's like it's like, come look at the biggest radar gun that in the United States. Guinness Book of World Records.
See, the reason that people from Michigan really don't like people from Ohio is not because of the Buckeyes. It's because when we have to go through Ohio to get anywhere, and Ohio is like, if you can tell the Michigan mentality as soon as you hit the border going from Ohio into Michigan, it's like somebody just waved the racing flag and said, go, because they just tear out from there. It's like all of a sudden, because I mean, you basically drive through flat farmland for endless numbers of miles, And luckily, you don't have to really move your foot on the gas pedal because you never change elevation. But please do not go over the speed limit 5 miles an hour, or you will have a light going behind you.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest. My father is here joining us.
Hello there.
Hi guys.
I love Whiskey
Hello.
Wednesday because I'm always like, well, you know what? We'll go for an hour, but now it's like an hour and a half, and I'm still having a great time. Dad, how are you? And how is work?
Okay, getting over a cold, but I'm all right. Doing
Yeah.
fine.
Doing fine. Oh, we were talking about you earlier because we were asking while you were in Asheville and one of those Whiskey Wednesdays. Did you end up going to that distillery?
No, they
Oak Ridge.
closed at 8 o'clock. They were not open. So we ended up going to a brewery across the street, and that's where we chimed in.
Gotcha.
But we tried.
Yeah. I live not far from there, but I still have not gotten to that distillery. But everybody talks about it like it's great.
Yeah,
so,
it's supposed to be nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. What else did you do while you were in Asheville?
We visited. My main goal was to shoot a meteor shower, but
Oh.
it rained every day we were there. So I got one meteor the whole week. But we ended up going to a couple breweries. We went to the big one down there, the
Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did the tour there. Went to Mount Mitchell. Just did a lot of sightseeing. And my friend retired, moved down there a year ago. So it was visiting friends and having a couple tatas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You've been there as many times as I've been there this year. So
Yeah.
it's an hour away and I never get up there anymore. So
Nice.
drive through country for me.
Nice.
Nice.
Awesome.
How was the turnout tonight?
Oh, it was this. We had Steve too. This is like the fun hang, you know.
Well,
This is
here.
like- cheers. What do you got? What do you got there?
I don't know. Lynn
I
made
was
it,
just
so
gonna ask what he has.
What is it?
a schnapps. My favorite.
Peach?
Oh, little
Schnapps?
peach schnapps. Nice.
Yeah, peppermint schnapps.
Oh,
Uh,
peppermint.
nice.
Peppermint. Okay, all
the
right.
season.
Nice.
Fa
Drew,
la la la.
we talked about everyone except for Drew. Drew, what are you drinking tonight? Actually,
Don't you see my whiskey? I have a bar up
I
there.
see that. Yeah.
So I'm with the release of my Irish whiskey book. I actually did a video yesterday where I was teaching people about the book so they could write reviews on it and stuff. So I was like, well, let me bring all of my Irish whiskey upstairs. And then what ends up happening, but I had put a drink in my glass with the intention that I was probably going to sip on that drink and then that was going to be all I was going to have this evening.
Yeah.
But as we've been talking, it's like I have this addictive whiskey that I bought that at first I didn't like it, but then all of a sudden, and I'll show you in just a moment. First, I didn't like it necessarily because it's a pot still whiskey, and pot still whiskey, when I went to Ireland, the stuff that they have that's really good is not here yet. So like
Oh,
Redbreast 12 is a pot still whiskey, but I think Redbreast 12 isn't really the best. So a good pot still whiskey should be very oily. So it's got a really nice mouthfeel to it. It should taste like graham crackers. You're trying to see down here.
Yeah. We're like everyone's.
Yeah.
Everyone's
I'll bring
going
it up in a
going
minute.
on this.
I'll bring it up in a minute. It should have a graham cracker taste to it.
Ooh.
And then it goes to a spice at the end.
Oh,
And it's like a rye spice, but it stays on your tongue. It doesn't hit your chest at all.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with that style whiskey, and then I come back here and I can't find it anywhere until finally I found this whiskey that is by the same people who make Redbreast, but this is Powers, which is another historic brand of whiskey, and it's a single pot still, but it's only aged for 6 years instead of 12 years. So I'm feeling like it's going to have more of that character that I'm kind of looking for. So this is the whiskey,
Yeah.
3 swallows. So now when I first tasted this, I bought it in Kentucky because I couldn't find it here. It's about $44 a bottle. So I come back and I taste it and I'm disappointed because I'm like, it doesn't really remind me so much. It's It's not as oily as I would like. It's not as graham crackery as I'd like. And it has this weird note at the finish. And that weird note I describe as Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Really?
It reminds me of Pabst Blue Ribbon on the finish. And I'm like, so it's like a malt, kind of like a burnt malt
Yeah.
flavor that comes in at the end. And I'm like, oh, I don't really like that. Well, what I found was I got on the phone and I was talking with my brother. I get on marathon calls with my family when I talk to them because we don't talk very often. So we talked for 4 hours. I realized that I started that evening with this bottle about here. And by the end of the conversation, the bottle was
That's
about
funny.
here.
That's funny.
And I said, this is the best conversation whiskey when you're just chatting with somebody
Yeah, right,
and you
right.
want something to really you want to enjoy something,
Mhm.
but you aren't paying attention to those little nuances that might make you go, okay, that's not my favorite note in the world, because I'm not a Pabst Blue Ribbon drinker myself. I know
Right.
people who love it. But so this is just my easy drinking. It's called Three Swallow, which yeah, it's they have a 12-year also, but I am really keen on getting younger pot still whiskey, because I think, like rye whiskey, to me, if you age rye whiskey too long, it loses all of its character.
It really
If-
does. I mean, we make a
I
rye
need to
whiskey
know the dog's
ourselves,
name.
and it's been for us, just because we experiment with the whiskey. It's fun to experiment with those. And we take rye whiskey and we have very small barrels to kind of like just kind of experiment with the aging
Mhm.
process. And it's been so fun to see how. I mean, you take a corn whiskey and age it. You take a rye whiskey, you age it. You take a single malt and you age it, and just to see what happens month to month, with a smaller barrel. You know, the smaller the barrel, the less time it takes to get to full maturity. But it's just like rye has been the most fun to work with because, yeah, you think like a lot of people. We just did a tasting at a barber shop a couple weeks ago, and people were like, I don't like young whiskey. It has to be 12 or more, blah, blah, blah. It's like, depends on what you're working with.
depends on the whiskey, yeah.
And
I think bourbon, when you get to after 10 years, unless they've really babied that cask,
right.
there's very few. Now, wheat bourbons like Pappy and those, they get away with that because wheat is a little more forgiving. But
Sure,
but yeah, I mean, to me, like if you gave me a Buffalo Trace or an Eagle Rare, one is 8 years, the other one's 10 years. I'd rather have the 8-year Buffalo Trace than drink the 10-year Eagle Rare, because it starts getting a little too oaky and kind of loses its character.
You can.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that, but you can overage, and it's just, I don't know. But I will say the experimentation has been really really fun to kind of like. It's literally month by month, because we're small batch, so we do 15-gallon barrels at our max right now. So, but yeah, it's been really 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 fun, and also like I love when you talk about rye whiskey and you're talking about how it takes you on a journey where it's like it could start sweet and then there's the middle and then it ends with something. The next whiskey we're coming out with is a Java Rye. We cure our barrels with coffee, and
nice.
it's a rye whiskey. It's 95% rye, and it is wild. Like, it's so crazy because you get sweetness up front, and then the rye hits you. And a lot of people that don't know anything about rye, it's a very spicy spirit that has a lot of different notes to it. So if you haven't had rye before, a lot of people think that's like, oh, it's a strong liquor. And then you're like, well, you have to really kind of taste it. And then as soon as you breathe out, you just get little bit notes of coffee. And we use a local coffee distillery here in Auburn, Simple Roast. And we're very excited. That should be out. I mean, we're saying this now, who knows, but like March, April, that should be ready to go for us as well. So we're so excited about it. And
that sounds great.
Yeah, the experimental process of that for the last couple of years of like working with it has been really, really fun. Rye is so fun to work with.
So this was well, I was gonna say this is my eye opener with rye. Was on my first trip to
The dog is back.
on my first trip to Kentucky. I kept going to distilleries and I kept hearing them say, you know, women don't tend to like rye. Women don't tend to like rye.
Huh,
And I thought, well, this is an interesting stereotype. So I was in a bar in Louisville, and there was and the bartender was female, and we were sitting there and chatting back and forth. And I said, recommend a whiskey to me. So she pulled out a Woodford Reserve rye, and I said, it's interesting that you gave me a rye because I keep hearing people say that females don't like rye. It's too harsh. And she said, I absolutely love rye. And I said, why do you love rye? And she said, because it's complex. There's a lot of
really is.
flavors
Yeah,
going
there's
on.
so much going on. Yeah.
And the more women I talked to about it, who had rye, said, I prefer rye to bourbon because it's more complex. It's got more flavors going on in it.
Yeah, it really
And
does.
so that's where those stereotypes of, oh, well, women's palates can't handle the heat. Well, it's not that. It's that they're looking at it the wrong way. Actually, a good rye whiskey that doesn't have a lot of corn in it doesn't give me the heat. It gives me spice, but it doesn't necessarily give me that corn
Yeah.
Kentucky
That
hug burn.
It does burn.
Yeah.
There's
I
burn.
think it's that combination of the corn and the rye that actually ends up giving you that burn, not the rye itself.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
Also,
I love.
there's a huge difference too, in my opinion. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this with rye whiskey, but a lot of places make between 90 and 95% rye whiskey. But have you had 100% rye whiskey? It's a huge difference between the 90 and the 100.
Yeah.
There's one of my favorite distilleries is Mad River out of Vermont, of all places.
Huh?
They make 100% rye whiskey. They make two different kinds. One is just 100% rye, really, really great. It's almost like you're like munching on cereal, like a wheat cereal almost. It's like that's the flavor profile I get immediately. It's like the only thing I can say is just like a normal brand BRAN cereal, like just a brand cereal. And then they make another one that's aged in like Cabernet casks, and you're like, wow, this is even better. Like, it's so good. But yeah, that is a completely different spirit than like something that's like between 70 and 90% rye whiskey. And it's like, rye is such a unique flavor profile. Yeah.
So this is interesting. When I was in Colorado driving on my way back from that California trip, I stopped in Denver, and I went to the Laws Distillery because there's a friend of mine who does a YouTube channel, and he's always talking about Laws, and I'm like, okay, well, let me go check this place out. So I did the quick tour, and then they gave me a chance to do a tasting, and I tasted their rye, and I went, man, this is so different. So I ended up leaving with a cast strength bottle of it and brought it back. And then I tasted it here the first time I tasted it. And I literally said, after I tasted it, I said, I'm not ready for this yet. This is a whiskey that's going to take a better palate than mine at the moment to figure out. So now I have been growing and growing and growing. My YouTube channel really has helped me a lot because it gets me to focus and try to figure out flavors and dive in a little deeper. So I finally came back to that bottle of Laws. Now, here's the thing. When I read on it, it said basically what they did was they went out to this place called the San Luis Valley in Colorado, and they found wild rye. They didn't find rye that was growing, that was purposefully put there. This is just a out in the field rye that they went and collected and decided to try to distill. It has some of the most interesting flavors that I have ever tasted in a rye whiskey. And at cast strength, they're all like flying at you. But I just couldn't stop writing down tasting notes. I'm like, I can't believe all of the flavors that I'm pulling out of this rye. And it makes you think, man, if we could actually taste, unadulterated ryes that grow wild like that, what other flavors we would find on top of, just what's available out there right now. So
Wow, that's crazy.
amazing spirit.
Yeah, Wild rye. I have to look into that for sure. That
Yeah.
sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Richard, have you ever experimented with rye whiskey? Do you like rye or?
Yeah, I mean, typically I do like kind of that, that spicy, like kind of feel it in your throat, mouth sensation of drinking a rye whiskey. I don't have like a lot of experience like experimenting with different types. Old Forester's cheap.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
So it's a pretty good rye. And then my old boss, he was an asshole, but he had given me a couple of bottles of High West double rye, which is pretty decent.
Yeah.
Kind of I don't know and now got me thinking about what the percentage of actual rye whiskey versus corn or other I don't know, other grain that are
So
part of the composition of it.
to legally be called rye whiskey, it just needs to be over 51%. So like
Okay.
a lot of people don't advertise what it is, and if it's not advertised, it's probably around 50,
Okay.
51. I assume.
Right.
I'm looking it up because if they call it a double rye, okay, so it's it comes from MGP and it's their 95.5 rye, so it's 95% rye, 5% malted barley.
Okay, yeah, 95
Okay.
is a pretty standard. I feel like for rye
Standard.
whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, if you buy Bullet is also that same 95.5.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. Interesting.
yeah.
Guys, I
Yeah.
just want to shout out Bob Krell for being a part of this. I will say Bob has been a Patreon member for months and months, and he's never showed up to a live.
Yeah.
Give it up for
I
Bob,
don't
everybody.
I don't know if you
Bob,
can
are
hear
you
me. It's really loud. I'm in an undisclosed location in Maryland, and it's a mechanical room
He's
in a federal building.
working. He's not drinking, I'm sure.
Are you working right now, Bob?
I am. Your tax dollars are actually paying me right now.
Nice, nice. What are you up to? You're in the DC area right now?
Yeah, that's just outside of DC.
Wow. Well, I'm so happy you're here, man. I'm so glad you're here.
Right?
What are you up
Makes
to?
Yeah.
at least three of us.
Just
At least three of
doing
us.
air duct
Bob.
cleaning in this place that is like the size of a football field. This building is like 400 feet long, and there's like literally like 17 miles of ductwork in it, and we're going to spend 4 months cleaning this whole building now.
I literally thought your background.
And I'm the consultant on it, so I'm getting paid to run this stupid thing.
I thought your background was like one of those fake backgrounds you can put on Zoom, you know?
No, this shit's really here.
Let's see you
This is-
touch something back there, Bob. Grab
What?
something and put it up so we know it's real.
Oh.
You want me to get my tool?
Wow.
How's
Amazing.
that? Does that prove that's not generated background?
So Bob is not a whiskey drinker at all, and I kind of want to dive
Not
into
really,
that for
no.
a second. What
Oh,
made
geez.
you?
But he missed
what-
the whole vegetarian vegan conversation
That's
earlier.
true.
He's a
Yeah.
vegetarian, Bob.
Well, I'm
You
not a
missed
vegan.
that.
I'm a vegetarian.
Right. There was a whole conversation about it.
I eat chicken embryos. You know that.
I know that you are not a whiskey drinker, but you said there was a time in your life you were, and then what changed? Was it? You said it was
Oh,
college?
well, no. What happened was I was 18 and got totally fucked up on Southern Comfort and almost died. I literally was found
That's
in
why I
our
don't
upstairs
like
bathroom
vodka.
by my mother.
That'll do it.
fucking vomit with my arm in the toilet. And it's like, to this day, if I smell Southern Comfort, I want to vomit. I start going, it's
Mine
just
was
about
Jack,
killed me.
mine was Jack Daniels. So
Okay.
I feel your pain. I feel your
And do you
pain.
trigger on that too? Like, if you smell it now, it's like there's certain, like
So
Southern Comfort, the odor of it's like, oh,
Yeah, so this is the thing. I could not drink whiskey for 20 years. And
wow.
and it was a friend of mine that got me into drinking scotch, that got me back into drinking whiskey. And the irony of this whole thing is now my best the whiskey that I have the best relationship with my podcast is Jack Daniels. And Jack Daniels actually is making some really good whiskey right now. In fact, they made one that is a sherried whiskey. It's an American single malt, and I would relate it to a scotch. It's closer to a scotch than any American whiskey that I've had. So it took me a while to get back around to it, but scotch has a different smell to it. And so yeah, it doesn't have that corn smell and that, so it kind of helped ease me back in. And bourbon still, to this day, I can't do a shot. If you ask me to do a shot, I can't because it will come right back out.
Ugh. Yeah, SoCo.
Oh my God.
Down with SoCo.
It's
Dad was nodding. What is your nemesis?
Dad.
Dad.
What's that now?
What's your nemesis?
What? Yeah. What's your the drink that you can't do because you
Black
can't-
Velvet.
Black
Black
Velvet.
Oh,
Velvet.
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Good
My
choice.
mom.
Yeah.
used to
We
always
did
have
that
a
one
bottle of
night,
Black
and
Velvet, and I would, when I was a teenager, I would sneak it and then fill it up with water. And that was like I don't know why I was doing this. It tasted horrible. It was so bad. But I was like, whatever, I'm a teenager. I'm just gonna drink it.
Now, this is a great conversation. We should go around the room. So, Richard, do you have something that you got messed up on when you were early 20s, teenager, or whatever, that you still can't drink to this day?
I mean, maybe not something that just like got me too drunk, but like I can't do Jaeger because I
Yeah.
had like a really bad Jaeger bomb experience where I drank too much. I don't know. I think I just got coincidentally food poisoned,
Oh yeah.
and now
that'll
it's
do
just
it. That'll do
done. I mean, Jaeger's not even
Jaeger
that good in the
poison.
first place. Like
it. Right.
whatever. Like I don't know. Maybe it's good.
It's
But
like having a whole ass dinner.
Oh.
that's my other nemesis, and it was because I had been drinking a bottle of Jägermeister and I had gotten halfway through the bottle, and then somebody said, "Hey, here's some Red Bull. You should mix that in." And I learned a long time ago: do not mix sugar with whiskey.
Right.
Drink a lot of it because that is the first thing to trigger me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
Becky, what about you? What's your nemesis?
Mine was also Southern Comfort.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
Ah.
And it was also straight Jim Beam. So like when I was really young, I would drink a lot of Jim Beam, and I way too fucked up on it. And then Southern Comfort, same thing. Around the same time, right when I turned 21, I drank a lot of SoCo, and it was awful. I would get sick, and it would taste horrible. And I was like, "That's it. Never drinking that stuff again." And here I am with the Jim Beam Peach.
Yeah,
There you
right. Full circle.
well, so Jim Beam was my second
It
one.
was
So I hadn't
always
drank whiskey
available.
from 18 till whatever. I think I might have been 23, 24. I was playing in a band, and I was playing this is back when drinking age was still 18. So I had bandmates that were like still in high school that were like 16, 17, and we were playing bars. Just
Bob,
nobody
don't do
checked.
yourself like that.
No, I was terrible. I was like, I literally was a bad person. I had these young kids drunk with me all the time in bars. But anyway, so we had this app, and the kids have the freaking after party. You know, the 17-year-old bass players went with the after party. And I had in high school, long story, but I kind of a track kid in high school, and this kid who was at this party was like the senior at my high school, and he wants to race me in 100, whatever. This is at night, but we got to drink Jim Beam, right? And we're drinking Jim Beam, and then we decide to run. I beat him, and then I vomit all over everything. It's like, not again! I've done it again. It's like, no.
Oh my
So
God.
that is. So I
Yeah.
had to stop whiskey after that. Or,
What
it's
about you,
bourbon.
Nick?
Yeah.
Now,
Mine.
we
mi-
used to
Oh, what?
no, we used to do pictures of kamikazes for the Super Bowl.
Uh,
And we'd get pretty wasted on that stuff. Can't do that no more either.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I wish Colin was here because I assume Colin and I's are the same. I think when we were 19, sorry Dad, and Mom for listening to this, but I think when we were 19 or 20, we brought a bottle of like Bacardi raspberry to the New York State Fair, and we were mixing it with like Powerade or Gatorade or something like that, and we were just put it in the
God sakes.
yeah, so we could just get into the New York. We were like, oh no, it's just Powerade. We can get into the fair with it, and it was just, to this day I can't even smell it. Like I can't even smell it. It like will bring back memories. So that's mine. A flavored rum is mine.
Well,
It depends on the flavored rum though. Grind, huh?
Grind
the
is good.
day
Yeah.
Nick's
Grind is
grind bomb.
awesome.
Nick's
What is
grind
that?
bomb.
Nick, the day the Scarlet
It's a-
Ending played at the state fair
Yeah.
Me and Dan filled up water bottles with Dr. McGillicuddy's. Okay.
I remember that.
And we drank that. And Dan ended up not passing out, but taking a nap before your show.
The cherry kind or the peppermint kind?
Cherry or menthol?
Oh, peppermint. Yeah. The
Oh, God.
Whole bottle of that?
John bought a
Oh,
bottle.
good God.
I feel like
There's
he
a-
did
there's an
that
entire
like,
water bottle
because he
filled
knew
with it.
nobody was going to drink.
I think I gave it to Brody when he came over.
Oh, no, no,
God,
no.
yeah.
All right, so do
love-
we? I was gonna say, do we have a little band going on here? By the way, Nick, what instrument do you play? Bob, what instrument do you play?
So I've been playing music for my entire life. Right now, I just play in every couple weeks. I'll play in a '90s tribute band.
You got
play- I
guitar
play-
or?
I play drums. But
Okay.
Bob is
I,
an amazing.
I play bass. So what do you play, Bob?
Nice.
Oh, okay. So actually, I was a lead singer in my previous life a long time ago, and played keyboards and guitar. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We got most of a band going on.
Most of the
Never
band-
great at any of them. The fact I could sing is what
Richard-
carried me in bands. I was never a great musician. I'm just average.
Richard plays music too. You know that.
Yeah, I was also an average player in a band in college, or like early college. I played the drums.
Yeah.
Our
Oh.
name was the Sex Kicks, which is weird.
Good name.
That's funny.
It's hard to enunciate though, because everyone was like, "You're the Sex Kids."
Oh my
That
God.
is-
Yeah, okay.
I will say Holly is also an amazing singer. So I will say, Drew, I know most of you know this, but I also bartend at a very popular karaoke bar in the Syracuse area, and
Okay.
I've been working there for 15 years, and I've known like Holly and Becky and Bob for that long. And Bob, I will say, we do once a year we do this huge New York statewide karaoke contest at this bar, and Bob was in the finals. He's downplaying it, but Bob's a very good singer.
I'm okay.
Holly is an amazing singer too, but she should have.
But Bob, you know what Bob's got? Pizzazz.
I've
Yeah.
never had it described
Bob
as
has got
jazz before.
the whole thing. I can sit at the bar when I'm drunk and sing some songs, whatever. I cannot stand up on the stage and do the things that Bob does. Okay, I cannot do that.
Okay.
Was he the David Lee Roth of the group?
Oh yeah.
Probably, yeah. I guess it's a good analogy.
I
So, truth be told, my younger son is actually the virtuoso music guy in my family. By the way, he just got nominated for Best Rap Album of the Year, Grammy
I
again
saw that, dude.
for Future.
Chrissy
Yeah,
told me. That's
he's got another
awesome,
one.
dude. That's
4
awesome.
years in a row nominated for a Grammy. He actually did win a Grammy 2 years ago.
That's awesome, man. You proud dad right there.
Yeah, I'm real happy for him. It's just the kid worked really hard. I mean, he's 29. He's busted his ass since he was 14. So I mean, he earned it. He worked real hard.
Awesome. Dude, that's so great. That's a little jealous, you know. Been playing music my entire life, and
No, me too, dude. You know what? I guess every parent wants their kids to surpass them. You know, I mean, like they killed me in athletics too.
You're like, not
Well,
like
my-
this though.
I was in track and football. My older son, you know, plays college football. I did too, but then he goes on the track, becomes an All-American in track. The younger one, you know, walk on Division II lacrosse player, and you know, and plays the national championship, and then he wins a Grammy. It's like, really?
wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you want.
Hell yeah.
And I'm here in a mechanical room in Maryland. Yeah, that's what I do.
Not to brag at all, but my son is the drummer of a real popular local band, and he's also just got licensed for his distillery. So
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That is
And
true.
but besides that, I think what's more important, honestly, is the dog. Can we? What's the dog's
What's the
name?
dog's name?
What's
Send
that
it to
dog's
girl.
name?
Is it a
oh,
girl?
Is it a
there,
girl?
there was two of them. There's Rosie was the
There's
chocolate
a
lab.
black one and a brown one.
Yeah.
Right. We
Oh,
actually have
that's
three.
what- we were like, I
Wait,
thought that was just a
They were
regular-
mother-daughter. They're mother-daughter. The
They're
chocolate lab
both
is
girls.
Rosie, and the black lab is Cassie.
Rosie and Cassie. Oh my god, love this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, loved every second of that.
Like I think like Drew and Richard got into it for a minute talking about the states and all this, and I'm getting messages on my phone from Becky and Holly going, "What's the dog's name? Like I need the dog. What's going on with the dog?"
What's the dog?
Love the dog.
No, I just got home and they wanted to say hi. So
Oh my god, we really
Okay, well, they come
appreciate
out.
you moving the camera so that we could get like a
Oh,
better.
there's Rosie.
there's
Yeah.
Rosie.
Yes.
Oh,
This one is Rosie.
That one's
that's a
Rosie.
cutie.
Oh my god, look at her. She loves you.
So what type of
Listen,
dog
if
is
you
that?
need a dog groomer,
Chocolate lab.
Chocolate
I'm your
lab,
yeah.
girl.
Chocolate lab, yeah.
I'm a very good de-shedder. In case the dog sheds, I can get rid of all that hair. I'm really good at it. For real, this is not a joke. I
9 to
this as a
5
job.
groomer.
You get the fur balls though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, my lungs are just straight dog hair, but who cares? I'm invested. I'm passionate.
Cassie is actually Cassiopeia, named after the constellation in the
Ah.
sky.
Oh,
My,
then
I will
that's
say my
that's the
father's
black.
my father's an amazing photographer. He does a lot of the stars and the moons, and
Oh, I remember
you need
that.
to start your own photography Facebook page so people can follow you. Because
There's guys 10 times better than me. I'm still new at it.
I don't know,
It's
I'm
a
blown
hobby.
away. I'm blown
Mr.
away. by
Mr.
it.
Modest. And there's people out on Facebook putting out stuff that's not that great.
I
So
don't
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
for you to
yeah.
put out,
Thank
A
you
million
know,
people 10 times
really good
better
stuff.
than you.
Yeah.
Thanks. There's guys that are 10 times better than me. So what? He's still
Still doing.
It's true
excellent.
for everybody though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
anybody does it.
Exactly.
There's always people that do stuff better than we do. I mean,
Yeah.
Any kind of
That doesn't mean that
astrophotography
it's
is
not great.
fascinating.
I mean,
know,
not me.
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, not us. I mean, we know there's not much better.
It's
At least in this room. In this room, this
We're
is-
tops.
This is as good as it gets.
we got a star-studded.
I'm gonna mute us now.
Star-studded. Oh, Drew, I want to talk to you about your new book. Okay, so Drew, a couple of years ago, you came out with a book about the Bourbon Trail, and now you've written about the Irish whiskey. Is it is it also
Wow.
a trail? Or is it?
I've heard that a good salesman always keeps his business card
Yes.
handy. So yeah,
So
I did a
true for
book
that.
on how to do the Kentucky Bourbon Trail was my first book, which is I launched it right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
So people could Jones about going to Kentucky and plan ahead. And this is not 100% officially released. It is on Amazon now, but I went to 51 distilleries in 24 days in Ireland.
Wow.
I just did a complete
nice.
circle of Ireland so that I could write a book that would teach you how to do a Irish distillery tour, and it has profiles of the Irish distilleries I went to visit and all the international travel advice and little history to help you understand what Irish whiskey is and where it came from and process and all that stuff. So it's so funny, I released it yesterday to my launch team. It's on Amazon, but I haven't told the world it's on Amazon yet. But I put it at a discount price on Amazon for my launch team to get reviews. And I looked today and it was ranked #1 in new releases in Irish travel and British travel. I'm like,
Awesome.
Nice.
wow, that works.
Yeah,
So-
you're an
Congrats,
Amazon
man.
#1 bestseller. You can claim that now.
Absolutely.
huge.
Well, and that was my big,
You know,
yeah, absolutely. Well, that was my thing with this book was I'm a self-publisher, so I have to promote myself.
Yeah.
And I just worked it really hard to get people to purchase it early and then to keep watching Amazon to see when it said bestseller and then screenshot it as soon as it got there so that I could say, here's my proof. It was an
That's-
Amazon
yes.
bestseller. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Oh,
man,
thank
that's
you.
so great. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't want to make Jeff Bezos any richer, how is it? Is it possible to buy it right from you or another seller eventually?
You will be.
Elon Musk is going to offer it.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I saw it was a meme or something that I saw the other day, and it was basically Elon Musk saying, "Did you hear I bought Twitter?" And then it was Jeff Bezos going, "Really?" And he said, "Amazon's next." And Jeff Bezos is like, "Bruh," like that. And then you see Elon with his phone going, "Add to cart."
That's pretty funny.
Oh, okay. No, I have whiskey-lore.com. I haven't ordered the books yet, but I'm going to order 100 copies that I'll have here. So you'd be able to order it through there, and then I'd send it directly. And honestly, if you tell me you know me from Cellarman's Folly, I would sign it when I send it. So
Perfect.
Oh, cool.
I would love that. I
I'd
would love
copy
that.
it. So, yeah.
Yes, you hear that? People that we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Say you're from Silverman's Folly, he'll sign it for you.
There you go.
Yes, because I'd rather support you and not you and Jeff. You know what I mean? Like,
I totally get that.
yeah.
I will tell you this. I learned a lot, and I learned it from the guy that I do my Amazon marketing through. This book is in full color, and so when you look at the pictures, you know, Kentucky, beautiful. There's photos in there. But the thing is that when you do a full color book as a self-publisher, Amazon takes a ton of your money. So I make like $2 a book when I
Wow.
sell a book through Amazon. Oh, look at the cat.
This is Frankie.
Hi, Frank.
If you've ever been to
But
my
I-
house, you probably haven't seen him.
So I did black and white in this, and it actually will help me make a little bit more money. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
but yeah, if you want to buy it through the website, then you'll actually get a better copy because Amazon's print quality is,
Mediocre.
it's good, but some things are off center sometimes, and that's
Yeah.
one thing. They rush print these.
It's weird.
things.
I remember when Amazon was just a bookstore.
I remember that too. Yeah.
I do too. I remember when it was in competition with buy.com. Do you remember
Yeah.
buy.com? Yes.
Yeah. Or at Barnes and Noble when they actually had some presence.
Yeah, Walden's books.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We used to have competition in the bookseller space, which is
Yeah.
bizarre to think about.
What was it? B. Dalton.
the cat
Does
that
anybody
bites?
remember B. Dalton? as a
Yeah, B.
bookstore?
Dalton, Walden's books.
Walden's
I mean,
books?
Yeah.
Borders is now done, right? Borders
Yeah,
doesn't
Borders.
exist.
Borders.
I saw
Borders,
Bruce.
yeah.
I saw Bruce Hornsby play piano at a Borders Books in Dallas, Texas. It's like that they would have actual artists come out and play at
Wow.
the bookstore. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw a Dashboard Confessional play at a.
Oh shit!
Did you really?
in
Okay,
a board-
nice.
in
Oh.
Syracuse. It was at Carousel Mall in Syracuse. Playing like
Nice.
2002 or whatever
Yeah.
the height was.
Saints
was-
and Sailors.
It was before. yeah. It was before like a big show. Like he was promoting the show that night, so he'd play like 5 songs, and then at night he played like a theater or something, whatever it was. But
Mm.
it was like the height of Dashboard Confessional. But crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I used to go to Border Books when I was in Dallas. I like that show, and it's like Tower Records. I think that I saw a Tower Records the other day. I think where was that at? And I was like, I didn't even know they still existed.
They were still in Manhattan, weren't they, for a while?
I think so.
I
I
think
think
they
that
saw
may have
that, they
been.
were-
Yeah. So, I mean, the days when you used to be able to go walk through a record store and just like flip through vinyl and look at album covers and stuff. I do miss that.
They just opened an FYE in Syracuse. I'm like, I thought they went out of business.
A new FYE?
A
That
new FYE. So
Wow.
it's they were in the mall, then they all closed down, and now they're back in the mall, and everyone's like going
Mhm.
crazy, and I'm like, but it's gonna be like for the next couple months, it's gonna be cool because they're back, but then they're gonna die out again. Like, I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, and I have this thing about FYE because I worked for Record Town in my youth, and I worked for Camelot Music, and both of those got absorbed into FYE.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, FYE.
There was a record town in Syracuse, and the building was so cool. It had like I don't know, like a dome shape or whatever, and then it turned into like
Yeah.
a Dollar Tree. And I'm like, oh okay.
Nice. We had a tape world, and let me tell you, that name did not transcend time very well.
No.
Yeah, we're
know,
talking about cassette tapes, tape world.
Tape
It's
world.
like it's like
That's
it's
funny.
like CD heaven.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Wow, guys. Jeez. Well, okay. Well, that was it's we went for two. I mean, I'll keep going if you guys want to keep going, but we were supposed to go for an hour and it's been 2 hours. So
Wow.
Well, you can see I'm working through my whiskey bottle.
I know,
It's
you're still
getting
going.
very
Wow.
close to the bottom.
Hmm?
And actually, the
have-
fact that I saw a dog and I thought I saw a dog, but I wasn't sure. But then Becky said something about the dog, and I was like, "Oh, I did see a dog." Makes me know that I've had a little too much of this tonight.
Yeah.
Two
So,
dogs.
With Drew's whiskey, the story he gave behind it and everything, like how the conversation as it progresses, the whiskey gets lower and lower, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Am I the only Harry Potter dork here that thought about Professor Slughorn's like hourglass? The sand only moves when the conversation is interesting.
Ah,
I'm the
Nice.
only dork. Okay, so I'm gonna mute myself.
Trying
All
to
right.
say this. It's like
You're a dork.
uh-oh. We went to the mute.
I will do if we want to end this with a little cheers.
Oh,
This has been the most I mean, all these whiskey Wednesdays have been. The first one we're like, we're not sure how this is gonna go, and it was really fun. And the second one, technical difficulties happened. So it was like me and like one other person. And then last month it was really fun, but we ended up doing shots and got crazy. And then this one went for 2 hours and we just talked for a long time. And I'm so happy because
This is fun.
yeah,
This is so
awesome.
this is so much better than
wrong
what
with
I would
getting
normally do, which
crazy.
is just
Yeah,
watch
we
a
like getting
DVD I've
crazy.
watched 50
Yeah.
times
I
before.
know.
So,
You know, tonight, like literally my
hour and a half.
my partner Molly, she's working until like she won't be home until like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be already asleep by that point. So everyone's like, "Oh, you should check out this comedy special or this TV show," and I'm like, "I'd rather just hang out with you guys." But I got a little bit of the Drambuie here, so I just want to do a cheers to you guys. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our Patreon. You are the ones that helped us get to where we are right now. So
Your mom still got her drink.
nice.
do it again.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, cheers your water, Bob. Cheers.
Cheers, Bob.
Bob's
Thanks for
working.
coming, Bob. What a pleasant
I
surprise.
know.
Cheers.
This is
yeah.
Now at least Nick, you can't pick on me the next time I see you
I
in the
know.
bar.
I
You
know.
never show up, so I showed up.
You
I
showed
actually
up.
saw the Facebook feed. I was like, shit, they're still on. It's like ran over to the computer and
Just-
fired it up.
Just
So
always
happy
remember-
to see you, Bob. And even though you're far away, you're still so near.
Well, that's the marvel of the internet,
Yeah.
modern day communications.
And just remember that cheers means to your health. And since you're the one drinking water, we know who has the health.
You know,
Water.
it's not necessarily as you believe, Drew. I make up for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So just a couple of quick things. December 16th is our first day open at the shop at the tasting room. I've been calling it the shop for 5 years.
Yeah,
'cause we've had it
wait,
for that
we can
long.
go there and like
And-
chill.
Yeah, you can come there and chill. Yeah.
That's
We're
awesome.
gonna be open.
Everything going
We're
on
gonna
with
be
it.
open every Friday from 5 to 9. If people are still hanging out after 9, we can stay open. But 5 to 9 is gonna be the thing every Friday.
What about the,
We'll
what about the
eventually
23rd?
We'll eventually
you open
expand
that day?
hours as that goes. What was that, Holly?
The 23rd, the following Friday, like the day before Christmas Eve, you're open. Up.
Yeah, we'll be open that day. Yeah.
I'll do that one.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna put it in our
All right.
calendar.
We'll see you. We'll see you there.
Bob, mark it down. You and Christy, come too.
Sure. Just remind us.
Okay.
Honey.
She's handling my calendar.
Bye.
Mama. And the 28th is a Monday. That'll be the next cocktail class if you're in that tier. We're doing a pumpkin spice oat milk chai spiced something. Colin's doing it. I don't really know what it is. I'm excited to be the not just kind of chill and relax. I'm coming home from vacation that day, so it's going to be really nice to just kind of relax and have a cocktail.
Yeah,
Using
well,
biscotti liqueur in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
Actually, Richard, that's the one I texted you about. I was like, I know you have a peanut
Oh, yeah.
allergy, and I know there's like,
Yeah, oh,
certain
yeah.
other nuts in it.
Well, I've my Murray gives me shit because I say almond.
Okay.
Almond, is that wrong? Is it almond or is it almond?
I say almond.
Or,
But
Almond.
Almond.
to each his own.
Yeah, to each his own. That's
I can't
another
even tell
thing.
the difference. You all said a different version of almond, and I've heard the same version of the word. So
Just don't say vehicle. That's like nails on the chalkboard for
Oh my
me.
Potato,
God,
potato.
I used to work with a guy. I used to work with a guy that used to say theater instead of theater.
Yes.
Okay,
I
no,
get
that's-
lots of that around here. Yes.
Stop.
We don't need
Stop.
more syllables. Just
Yes.
chill.
yeah.
But yeah, next cocktail class is the 28th, that Monday of November.
Becky's gonna have one of those lights
The
behind
neon light.
her
Okay.
by the
Mm.
next
I'll send you.
cocktail,
I'll
so
send you the link.
guaranteed.
I'll send you a link. I got it on Etsy. So
Very nice.
yeah, very nice. Also,
Not sponsored, by the way. Not yet.
we'll see you guys then. Go pick up Drew's book, new book. It's on Amazon right now. You can order it. I'm excited to read it, man. I have your bourbon book, and I can't wait to read that one. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
Also, go check out Whiskey Lore. It's a podcast on Spotify, hosted by, and I mean, produced, and you did everything.
This is where I do it. I'm
Yes.
sitting at the very spot where I do the production for that. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Pop
Yeah.
filter.
Produced and hosted by Drew. So go check that out. And yeah, well, thank you guys so much. This has been so fun. I'm actually excited to tell Colin that he missed a really great Whiskey
Wednesday. I'm not gonna lie, the cocktail classes are good.
They're good.
Okay, we just discussed this. The cocktail classes are good. Of course, it's like it's an organized thing.
You get whiskey, of course. Yeah.
Whiskey Wednesday, though,
That's
people
worth
are missing out.
Yeah.
They're sleeping on Whiskey Wednesday, and this is actually better. This is way more
Jill
entertaining,
Hangs.
Yes.
for sure.
Thank you for organizing.
Yes, of course. And we'll I'll get at you when the date is for the December Whiskey Wednesday shortly. So
Sweet.
thank you guys. Good night, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you too, guys.
Good luck with the store launch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. All right. Take
Good night,
care, all.
guys.
Take care.
Bye bye.